the things that are said about Rossy, I think 99% of them are wrong, and I so far he's been a really good teammate, and I'm very appreciative to have him on the team.
Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering VCT Americas Stage 1 for Media Day. My guest at this time, it is none other than C0M of Leviatan, coming off of their recent appearance in Kickoff, looking to bounce back in Stage 1 and then some. And so C0M, gotta give you my thanks for this quick interview during Media Day. First and foremost, I gotta ask you just sort of how has been the break, I suppose, from the end of kickoff up until now? What have you guys been focusing on first and foremost amidst this period?
I think the thing we've been focused on the most, obviously, is making our change, but also at the same exact time is working on our team chemistry overall, and also just like, really, I guess, understanding why we lost and why we lost in stage one, and just trying to continue and improve from that point back then.
Yeah, of course, and as you mentioned right then and there, the change that happened within Leviathan from uh the end of kickoff up until now, bringing in Rossy for nataNk. I mean, first and foremost, I gotta ask you, sort of, what was the conversations like post kickoff, having to do the reflections and identifying what was the biggest issues that affected the team, and also how did that then turn into bringing into Rossy for nataNk?
Mhm. I think kind of the conversations were like, I don't know, we just weren't gelling well as a team, and the things that we were trying to apply in practice didn't really come out in the match like how we expected, at least. And for Nathan, like he's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen, but I just think he didn't really work out in our team. He didn't really gel with us. And then obviously coming in with Rossy, it's like kind of whole like I guess different type of person. Rossy is very outgoing, very I guess loud. He kind of reminds me of Boosty in a way, where he's very like he exudes confidence in his own way. And also at the same exact time, like he vibes with us as like a team, and we do a lot of things together. And just like I feel like he's never had that in like other teams as well, where he vibes so well with people on the team. So I think it's like all that kind of went together to where we made the move, and now we feel, I guess, more comfortable than we did before.
Yeah, because I remember like when the change was made for Rossy for in the tank. Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind regarding that is what happened to Rossy back in Cloud9 at the end of last year, and how that kind of the things that also led to the parting of ways. And so I asked to you sort of I can assume that maybe you haven't played with him before. You can kind of correct me on that, but like how what was it like going from having to get an idea as to the kind of player Rossy is from the outside, and then comparing that to what he's actually like, as a teammate within the team. How do you kind of look at the perception towards him and also the reality of it?
For me, it's like I feel like everyone has a perception of things, honestly, online, which I don't believe most of it is true, to be honest. There was even a thing where people said like I think even Ito addressed it on Twitter, where it was like, uh, we had an argument with like Nathan or something like me and Ito, and I'm one of the like people that definitely I don't say anything. Like I'm just there. I just have a good time, and I make sure everyone is like happy. That's just like who I am, you know? So seeing stuff like that is definitely like I guess questionable to see online about myself, but I think overall it's like the stuff that we kind of see online, the rumors that are kind of made for the most part are I don't know, they just feel untrue and kind of like slanderish in a way. So I mean, I the things that are said about Rossy, I think 99% of them are wrong, and I so far he's been a really good teammate, and I'm very appreciative to have him on the team.
I mean, I know you already mentioned a little bit about how it's been regarding the process of rebuilding with this new version of the squad with Rusty included. But like, what do you think is the one has been the one thing that stood out to you the most in having to familiarize yourself with him?
I don't know, honestly. I feel like we really like clicked on a personal level overall, and I think he's just I don't know, he's just him no matter what, and it's something like I think everyone can kind of take their own chip of what they want out of that. I think every personality, everyone adapts in different sort of ways. So it's just like how to use like different sort of people's personalities and kind of make it into kind of what you want, I guess. Where I think like I'm not a super direct person, but he helps me be more direct, which is I think is good overall in a team environment.
Mhm. Yeah, because like obviously, like on one hand, changes like this are risky in the sense that like we're already approaching the midway point of the season, and when it comes and also being in a schedule like this, it kind of makes it difficult for a team to kind of have or more so come into the decision of making the change while also taking into consideration all of the other outside circumstances that might make it difficult, such as changes to the game, changes to the schedule, just having to fit everything in before an official match, all of that stuff. And so, um, even so, like when it comes to having to rebuild with this squad, what do you feel has been the biggest challenge in just trying to fit everything in before the start of stage one, or maybe has it been difficult at all for you from your point of view?
Yeah, I think overall, like the most difficult thing is just like making sure everyone's on the same page constantly. I think that's the biggest team when like adding a person because it creates a whole different view on the game. Like people just like have their own view on the game, and you kind of have to adapt all your views and put it into like one play style. Which I think is pretty big in like chemistry and all that stuff. So I think that's like the biggest thing for us, to be honest. And I think it's something like every team does, to be honest. It's something like even in EG, whenever we made the change way back then, it's like we wanted like a different vibe on the game, essentially.
Mm.
Um, so it's basically all those things, like kind of just finding that and coming together and figuring it out together. I think that's like the biggest thing. Um, yeah, I think that's genuinely kind of what we're aiming at right now. And then if we get that down, I think like we'll look like 2023 EG, 2024 Lev at the end of champs. So yeah.
Yeah, because we know what happened the last time you were part of a team that made a change during the middle of the season. So hopefully the same thing can happen for this team at the very least. And so I want to pivot over very quickly to a different topic now, more so talking about the actual game itself, the state of the game, or more specifically the meta itself. I got to pinpoint this one tweet that you just put out a few days ago, and I quote. Please change this meta that we are in right now. I feels like the worst meta we have been in yet, in my opinion. Unquote. I mean, it just goes to show what are your thoughts on the game is at right now. So, want to ask you right now, what exactly makes the game suck in your point of view?
Yeah. I think right now it's just like it doesn't really feel like the game has enough like finesse in the game. Not I'm not talking about the player, but
I'll have to point that out.
but
Yeah.
there's not enough like finesse in like mid rounding at all. It feels very brute forcey. It doesn't feel like people really have to like there's the skill gap just feels like it's going lower with Tejo. It doesn't feel like you don't have a final lineup for that. You don't have to do proper timing. It'll just be there. It's just like it just feels very bland. It feels very just like I don't know. We have Breach Tejo is the meta technically right now, and it's like half the characters don't even need lineups at all. Like there's
Mhm.
no like individual like I guess, magic to it. It's just very like, okay, place a nuke here, breach stun this, you have the whole site. And it's just like there's no mid rounding, there's no pulling rotates, there's no like you have to do this in the round, you have to, just like push and pull like the enemy team. It's just like, okay, if you brute force something, then you win the round. It's very boring. It doesn't feel like there's a big skill gap. It's just like okay, if you have these utils and you you're not perfect as like a defense or whatever, it's just you can't do much about it just because there's so much util in the game. And I really wish something would change in that aspect. It just feels too much.
No, because like I do understand what you're saying because it reminds me of another tweet that Safe put out much more recently, basically saying maybe similar to what you're kind of alluding to being the current state of the game in that it's very util heavy, and it's very util heavy in the sense that basically your screen just basically becomes blurred out many seconds, and then it just leads to kills, and in that way, it just makes it a much more boring or or a much more stressful game or much more frustrating game. And so, it's such the way in the transition of this current meta. But I mean, even so, like, how you guys been trying to make that work to the best of your abilities?
Yeah, I mean, like I've been playing the more meta agents on some maps now, and it's just like, I mean, it's pretty easy to just do it, to be honest. Like I've adapted to it, and now I'm just, because I have to adapt to it if we want to win, right? Um, but it's just like, it just doesn't move me at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
It just feels very like boring overall when I can, like, we could be playing like a different meta that relies on information more than brute force util.
No, no, of course, and it's with this hand that every team has to play with in order to find the success that they're looking to find in stage one, and then everything beyond that. I got one more question to ask you before I wrap this up, because the little voice in my head is telling me to close this out very quickly.
No worries.
I'm sure you probably had that same notification as well. As we now begin or as you now begin the road to qualifying for Masters Toronto in stage one, doing well in stage one. What do you feel is the biggest obstacle that the team has to overcome from your point of view, outside of just taking on the teams that you have to face, in order to at the very least be competitive?
Um, I think our biggest obstacle, honestly, will probably be ourselves. Honestly, it's the most normal answer, but it is true. I think if we can figure out the things that we have issues with ourselves, then we'll end up being one of the best teams in the league. And that's how every team of mine has been. We've had issues at the start, and then as long as we go about resolving it and have a positive mindset towards it, then usually, as you can see, the last 2 years have done pretty well. So yeah, as long as I think it's the most bland answer, but it is ourselves. If we can fix that and become the team we all know we can be, which you'll see us probably progress through the stage, then yeah, we'll be the best team in Americas again.
Of course, it's all going to happen in due time, that I can say at the very least. And so, Calm, got to give you my thanks for doing this quick interview. I really appreciate you giving me the answers, providing the insight to the audience regarding what's currently happening within Leviatan. Really do appreciate that as well.
Of
And of
course.
course, got to give you the best of luck in stage one for yourself and the rest of the squad.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.